Part Gina floated in the darkness of space. Her small escape pod drifted slowly through the wreckage of her destroyed ship. She had been floating for 3 days now. The oxygen was running low. The water was almost gone. She knew she would die soon. Gina was a captain in the Earth Defense Force. She was 32 years old. She had fought in the war against the Valorans for 8 years. She had lost many friends. She had lost her mother when the aliens burned the colony on Vega 7. She had watched good people die for nothing. And now she would join them. Her scout ship had been hit by a Valoran patrol. The attack came without warning. One moment she was flying through the asteroid field near Saturn. The next moment, her ship was on fire. She barely made it to the escape pod before the ship exploded. Now she waited for death. On the 4th day, something changed. Gina saw a light through the small window of her pod. At first, she thought it was a star, but the light grew bigger. It grew brighter. It was moving toward her dot. Then she saw the ship dot. It was massive. It was so big that Gina could not see where it began or where it ended. The ship was white like bone. It had strange purple lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. It looked alive somehow. It looked like a giant creature swimming through space, a Valoran warship. Gina felt her heart stop. She had heard stories about what the Valorans did to prisoners. Some said they ate humans. Others said they used humans for experiments. No one really knew because no prisoner had ever come back to tell the story. The ship came closer. A beam of light shot out from its belly. The light wrapped around Gina's pod like a hand. She felt herself being pulled toward the massive vessel. This is it, she thought. This is how I died. The pod entered the ship through a large opening. The walls inside were smooth and warm. They seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Gina could hear a low humming sound, like the ship was breathing. The pod landed gently on the floor. For a moment, nothing happened. Gina sat in silence, waiting. Her hands were shaking. Her mouth was dry. Then the door of her pod opened by itself. Gina stepped out slowly. She looked around the large room. It was empty. The walls curved like the inside of an egg. The air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. She heard footsteps. 3 figures entered the room. They were tall and thin. Their arms were very long, almost reaching their knees. Their skin was dark gray, smooth like stone. Their faces had no noses, just 2 small holes. Their eyes were completely black, like deep pools of ink. Velorans.Jina had seen pictures of them before. She had seen them in battle, flying their ships, firing their weapons. But she had never stood this close to one. They were terrifying. One of the aliens stepped forward. It spoke in a strange clicking language that Gina did not understand. Then it touched the device on its chest. When it spoke again, the words came out in Korean. The voice was mechanical and cold. You are human. You are prisoner now. You will come with us. You will not fight. If you fight, you will die. Gina thought about fighting anyway. She thought about dying with honor, like her mother had, like her friends had. But something stopped her. A small voice in her head told her to wait, to see what would happen next. She raised her hand slowly. I will not fight, she said. The aliens grabbed her arms. Their hands were cold and hard. They pulled her out of the room and into a long hallway. The walls here also glowed with that soft blue light. The floor was warm under her feet. They walked for a long time. Gina tried to remember the path, to make a map in her mind. But all the hallways looked the same. She quickly became lost. Finally, they reached a small room. The door opened with a soft hissing sound. The aliens pushed her inside. The room was simple. There was a bed made of something soft and white. There was a small table. There was a hole in the floor that Gina guessed was a toilet. The walls were smooth and warm, just like everywhere else on this ship. "You will stay here," the alien said. "You will wait. The Queen will decide what happens to you." "The Queen?" Gina asked. "What Queen?" But the alien did not answer. The door closed, and she was alone. Gina sat on the bed. Her body was shaking. She was tired and hungry and scared. But she was also alive. That surprised her. She had expected to die the moment the Valorans found her. Instead, they had given her a room. They had mentioned a queen. What did it mean? She thought about her brother, Park Dong-soo. He was still out there somewhere, fighting near the Orion Arm. He was a good soldier, better than her. She hoped he was safe. She hoped he would keep fighting, even if she never saw him again. She thought about Earth. She had not been home in 5 years. She missed the mountains. She missed the sound of rain on the roof. She missed the taste of her grandmother's cooking. Would she ever see Earth again? Days passed. Or maybe weeks. Gina could not tell. There were no windows in her room. The light never changed. She slept when she was tired. She ate the strange food they brought her. It tasted like nothing she had ever eaten before, but it kept her alive. She waited, and then, one day, the door opened. "The Queen will see you now," the alien said. "You will come with us." Gina stood up. Her heart was beating fast. She did not know what waited for her. She did not know if she would live or die, but she was about to find out. The aliens led Gina through the ship. They walked for a long time. The hallways became wider. The walls became brighter. She could feel that they were going somewhere important. "You will not speak unless the Queen speaks to you first," one of the aliens said. "You will not look at the Queen directly. You will kneel when you enter the room. These are the rules." Gina listened but said nothing. In her mind, she was making a decision. She had spent weeks in that small room, thinking about her life, thinking about all the people who had died fighting the Valorans. Her mother, her friends, thousands of soldiers who gave their lives so that others could live. They had not died on their knees. If she was going to die today, she would die standing. The alien stopped in front of a massive door. It was made of something that looked like crystal. Light moved inside it like trapped lightning. The door was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "We go no further," the alien said. "You will enter alone. The Queen waits for you." Gina took a deep breath. She stepped forward. The crystal door opened without a sound. The room behind the door was the most amazing thing Gina had ever seen. It was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. The ceiling was made of glass, and through it, she could see the stars. Millions of stars, bright and clear, like diamonds scattered across black cloth. In the center of the room was a throne. It was made of light. Not metal or wood, but actual light that had somehow become solid. It glowed with a soft white color that hurt Gina's eyes if she looked at it too long. And on the throne sat the Queen. She was different from the other Valorans. Her skin was not dark gray, but silver, almost white. It was thin, like paper, and Gina could see something glowing underneath it. Her body was tall and thin, wrapped in robes that seemed to be made of the same crystallized light as her throne. Her eyes were black like all Valorans, but deeper somehow. Looking into them was like looking into a well that had no bottom. The Queen was old. Gina could feel it. This creature had lived for a very, very long time. Gina did not kneel. She stood straight and looked directly at the Queen. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. But she did not kneel. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Queen stared at Gina. Gina stared back. The silence was so heavy, it felt like a weight on her shoulders. Then the Queen spoke. "You may stand," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, like water flowing over stones. "I did not bring you here to grovel." Gina blinked. She had not expected that. "Then why did you bring me here?" she asked. Her voice was stronger than she felt. The queen tilted her head slightly. It was a strange, bird-like movement. "I have a question for you, human. A question I have been trying to answer for a very long time." "A question?" Gina was confused. She had expected torture. She had expected death. She had not expected a question. "Yes," the queen said. She leaned forward on her throne. "I have studied your species for 60 of your years. I have watched your broadcasts. I have read your books. I have listened to your music. I have seen everything about you that can be seen from afar." She paused. Her black eyes never left Gina's face. "I have watched you lose this war," she continued. "I have seen your ships burn. I have seen your colonies fall. I have seen your soldiers die by the thousands. By all logic, you should have surrendered long ago. Your defeat is certain. There is no way you can win this war. And yet," the queen's voice became quieter, "and yet you continue to fight. You continue to resist. You refuse to give up. My advisors tell me this is because humans are stupid. They say you cannot understand simple mathematics. They say you are too primitive to know when you are beaten." She shook her head slowly. "But I have lived for 900 of your years. I have conquered 400 species. I have seen stupidity before. This is not stupidity. This is something else. Something I do not understand." She rose from her throne. She was very tall, almost 3 meters. She walked toward Gina with slow, careful steps. Her robes flowed behind her like liquid light. She stopped in front of Gina. They were face to face. The queen looked down at the small human woman with those bottomless black eyes. "So here is my question, human," she said. "What is hope?" Gina stared at her. Of all the questions she had imagined, this was not one of them. "Hope?" she repeated. "Yes," the queen said. "Your people speak of it often. It appears in your songs, your stories, your speeches. Your soldiers shout it as they charge into battles they cannot win. Your leaders promise it to people who have lost everything. It seems to be very important to your species. But I do not understand what it means." She looked at Gina with something that might have been curiosity, or maybe hunger. Every species we have conquered understood defeat. When they saw they could not win, they surrendered. They bowed. They accepted their place beneath us. This is logical. This is rational. This is what any intelligent species would do. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. But not humans. Humans keep fighting. Humans keep hoping. Even when there is nothing left to fight for. Even when all logic says they should stop. She reached out one long, cold hand and touched Gina's face. Her fingers were like ice. "I need to understand why," the queen said. "Explain it to me, human. Explain what hope is." Gina stood frozen. The queen's hand was cold against her skin. The queen's eyes were deep enough to drown in. This ancient creature, this conqueror of worlds, was asking her to explain the most human thing there was. And Gina realized something. The queen was not asking because she wanted to destroy hope. She was asking because she wanted to understand it. Maybe even to have it for herself. Gina took a deep breath. She thought about her mother, her brother, her friends. She thought about all the humans who had died and all the humans who were still fighting, and she began to speak. Gina closed her eyes for a moment. She needed to think. The queen wanted to know what hope was. It seemed like a simple question, but the more Gina thought about it, the harder it became to answer. She thought about her father. Park Seung-ho was his name. He was a farmer on a small moon near Jupiter. He had never been a soldier. He had never held a gun in his life. He grew vegetables and raised chickens and sang old songs while he worked. Then the Valorans came. Her father had no training. He had no weapons. He had no chance. But when the alien ships landed near his farm, he did not run away. Instead, he grabbed an old hunting rifle from the barn. He stood in front of the small school building where 20 children were hiding. He fought. He died. The children died too. Nothing was saved. But that was not the point. My father was a farmer, Gina said. Her voice was quiet but steady. He knew nothing about war. When the Valorans came to his moon, he knew he could not win. He knew he would die. But he picked up a gun anyway and stood in front of a building full of children. The Queen listened in silence. He did not save them, Gina continued. He could not. Your soldiers were too strong, too many. But he made them work for it. He made them pay a price. And in those last moments of his life, he was not a victim. He was a man who chose to stand. Gina opened her eyes and looked at the Queen. That is hope, she said. Hope is not believing you will win. Hope is believing that the fight matters, even if you lose. The Queen did not move. Her black eyes stared at Gina like two dark holes in the universe. I do not understand, she said slowly. If the result is the same, why does the fighting matter? Your father died. The children died. Nothing changed. The outcome was exactly what it would have been if he had simply hidden or run away. Perhaps he would have survived if he had not fought. Maybe, Gina admitted. But he would not have been my father anymore. Explain. Gina thought about how to say what she felt. It was hard to put into words. These ideas were so deep inside her that she had never needed to speak them out loud. Humans believe that how you live matters as much as whether you live, she said. We believe that some things are worth dying for. Not because dying will change anything, but because the choice to stand up, to fight back, to refuse to surrender, that choice means something. It makes us who we are. She took a step closer to the Queen. She was not afraid anymore. This was too important for fear. You ask me why we keep fighting when we know we cannot win. The answer is simple. Because giving up is just death with extra steps. If we surrender, we lose everything. If we fight, we lose everything too. But at least we get to choose what we die for. At least we get to decide what kind of people we are. The Queen was silent for a long time. Gina could see something changing in those ancient black eyes. She could not name it, but it was there. I have conquered 400 species, the Queen said finally. All of them surrendered when defeat became certain. They calculated the odds. They saw that resistance was pointless. They chose to live as slaves rather than die as fighters. She paused. I always thought this made them intelligent. I thought humans were simply too stupid to see the obvious truth. But now I wonder if perhaps it was the opposite. Perhaps they had lost something that humans still have. Something that makes you different from every other species in the galaxy. We are not special, Gina said. We are not smarter or stronger than other species. We just believe in something that cannot be measured or calculated. We believe in meaning. Meaning, the Queen repeated the word like she was tasting it. What does that mean? Gina thought of her friend, Lieutenant Ko Myray. Myray was a pilot, the best Gina had ever known. During a battle near the Kepler system, her ship was badly damaged. She could have tried to escape. Instead, she flew her burning ship directly into the engine of a Valoran carrier. The explosion gave a transport full of refugees exactly 30 seconds to jump to safety. 47 people survived because Myray chose to die. 30 seconds. 47 lives. That was the trade Myray made. And she made it without hesitation. My friend Myray died to save 47 people, Gina said. By your logic, she was stupid. She was one person. She could have survived. Instead, she died to save 47 strangers. That does not make mathematical sense, the Queen said. No, it does not, Gina agreed. But it makes human sense. Mireille believed that those 47 lives were worth more than her own. She believed that her death could mean something. And because she believed that, it was true. The Queen stared at Gina with those bottomless eyes. For the first time, Gina saw something in them that looked like emotion. She was not sure what emotion it was. Maybe confusion. Maybe wonder. Maybe something she had no name for. Hope is not about winning, Gina said. Hope is about meaning. It is about believing that what you do matters, even if you never see the results. It is about fighting for tomorrow, even if you will not be there to see it. She took a deep breath. Humans have almost nothing. Your people have conquered most of our colonies. You have killed millions of us. You have destroyed almost everything we built. And yet, we keep fighting. We keep hoping. Because as long as we do that, we are still human. The moment we give up, we have already lost everything that matters. The Queen was silent for a very long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, quieter, almost fragile. I have lived for 900 years, she said. I have ordered the deaths of billions. I have watched empires rise and fall like waves on a shore. And in all that time, no one has ever explained to me why any of it mattered. She looked at Gina with those ancient eyes. I think I have been missing something very important. What happened next was not what Gina expected. She had expected to be sent back to her cell, or maybe killed. Instead, the Queen invited her to stay in the throne room. They talked for hours. Then for days, the Queen asked about everything. She wanted to know about Earth. She wanted to know about its oceans and mountains. She wanted to know about human cities and human villages. She asked about music and art and stories. Gina told her about the sea. She described how the waves crashed against the shore, how the salt air smelled, how the water felt cold against your skin. She told her about the mountains, tall and covered with snow, reaching up toward the sky, like fingers trying to touch the clouds. She told her about human music. She sang old songs her grandmother had taught her when she was a child. Songs about love and loss and coming home. The Queen listened to every word. She did not move. She did not speak. She just listened. On the third day, the Queen began to share her own story. My people are very old, she said. We became intelligent long before your species even existed. We built great cities when your ancestors were still living in caves. We traveled to the stars when your people were just learning to farm. She paused. Her ancient face looked tired. We conquered because that is what we did. At first, there was a reason. We needed resources. We needed space. We needed to grow. But after a while, we forgot why we were conquering. We just continued because it was what we had always done. What do you mean? Gina asked. The Queen stood up from her throne. She walked to the glass ceiling and looked up at the stars. Her silver skin reflected the starlight like a mirror. We have everything, she said. We have conquered 400 species. We control more planets than we can count. We have technology that would seem like magic to your people. We can live for thousands of years. We have everything any species could want. She turned to face Gina, and for the first time, Gina saw something in those black eyes that looked like sadness. And yet we are dying. Dying? Gina was confused. But you are winning the war. You are conquering everything. Not that kind of dying, the Queen said. Our bodies are strong. Our ships are powerful. Our weapons are unstoppable. But our spirit is sick. Our heart is empty. She walked toward Gina with slow, heavy steps. Our children are not being born anymore. Every year, fewer Valorans are created. Our artists do not create new art. They just copy the old art over and over again. Our scientists do not discover new things. They just study the old things they discovered long ago. She stopped in front of Gina. We have been alive for so long that we have forgotten what it means to really live. We eat, but we do not taste. We see, but we do not wonder. We exist, but we do not matter. Gina listened in silence. She was beginning to understand something. The Valorans were not evil. They were not monsters. They were just empty. They had conquered so much that they had lost the ability to want anything. I have watched your people, the Queen continued. I have seen your soldiers laugh as they go into battle. I have seen your civilians plant flowers in the middle of ruined cities. I have seen parents play with their children in refugee camps, surrounded by death and destruction. Her voice became a whisper. You are losing this war. You are dying by the millions. And yet, you live more brightly than any species I have ever seen. You burn like fire. We are like coal ash. She reached out and took Gina's hands in her own. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was gentle. This is why I asked you about hope, she said. Because my people have forgotten what it means. We have nothing to hope for. We have nothing to fight for. We have nothing to live for. Gina felt something she never expected to feel for a Valoran. She felt pity. What do you want from me? She asked. The Queen was silent for a moment. Then she spoke words that changed everything. I want you to teach us. Gina stared at her. Teach you? Teach you what? Teach us how to hope. Teach us how to care. Teach us how to find meaning in our lives again. The Queen let go of Gina's hands. She walked back to her throne and sat down heavily. I am offering you a choice, Captain Park. I can send you back to your people as a prisoner of war. You can tell them nothing, and this war will continue until the last human is dead. She paused. Or you can stay. You can teach us. You can help us understand what we have lost. And perhaps, if you succeed, this war does not have to end with your species extinct. Gina's mind was spinning. She could not believe what she was hearing. The Queen of the Valorans was asking her for help. Not military help. Not strategic information. She was asking for something far more important. She was asking for humanity's soul. How can I trust you? Gina asked. How do I know this is not a trick? The Queen looked at her with those ancient, tired eyes. You cannot know, she admitted. But you are human. You believe in hope, even when there is no proof. You fight, even when you cannot win. So I am asking you to do what humans do best. I am asking you to take a chance. Gina thought about her brother. She thought about her friends. She thought about all the humans who were still fighting out there. In the darkness of space, she thought about what it would mean if she succeeded. What it would mean if she could teach the Valorans to feel again. What it would mean if she could end this war, not with victory or defeat, but with something new, something better. She looked at the Queen. She took a deep breath. I will try, she said. 6 months passed. Gina lived on the Valoran ship. She was not a prisoner anymore, but she was not exactly free either. She was something new, something that had never existed before. She was a teacher. Every day, she taught the Valorans about humanity. She showed them human art. She played them human music. She read them human stories. She explained human jokes, though the Valorans never laughed. Not at first. She taught Valoran children about human games. She showed them how to play with simple toys. She taught them how to sing songs that had no purpose except to bring joy. At first, the children did not understand. They sat in silence, watching her with those strange black eyes. But slowly, very slowly, things began to change. One day, a young Valoran child made a small toy out of metal scraps. It looked like a bird. It had no purpose. It did nothing useful. But the child showed it to Gina with something that looked almost like pride. That was the first sign that the Vian Queen's hope was not foolish. Gina also worked with Valoran scientists. She showed them human poetry. She explained why humans wrote about love and death and beauty. She told them about the way humans looked at the stars and felt small, but also special at the same time. "We are tiny," she explained to a group of scientists one day. "The universe is so big that we cannot even imagine it. Our lives are so short that they do not matter at all in cosmic time. And yet, we believe that we matter anyway. We believe that our choices, our loves, our dreams, all of it means something." "That is not logical," one of the scientists said. "No," Gina agreed. "It is not logical, but it is human. And maybe that is what makes us different." The news of the ceasefire reached Earth in the 7th month. Admiral Yun Tai Wu was sitting in his command center when the message arrived. He read it 3 times. Then he read it again. He could not believe what he was seeing. The Valorans were offering peace. Not surrender. Not victory. Peace. They wanted to stop fighting. They wanted to talk. And they were asking for something very strange. They wanted human ambassadors. They wanted teachers, artists, musicians, philosophers. They wanted to learn. Admiral Yun did not trust it. He had fought the Valorans for too long. He had watched too many friends die. He did not believe that monsters could change, but he sent the ships anyway, because even admirals can hope. The first human delegation arrived at the Valoran ship 3 weeks later. There were 10 people on board. Teachers, artists, scientists. They came not to fight, but to share. Gina was waiting for them at the landing bay. She stood beside the Queen, 2 figures from different worlds, standing together as the human ships descended. "Are you nervous?" the Queen asked. "Yes," Gina admitted. "My people have every reason to hate you. Many of them will not believe that you have changed." "Have I changed?" the Queen asked. Gina looked at her. In 6 months, she had seen things she never expected to see. She had seen the Queen weep while listening to a human lullaby. She had seen Valoran soldiers sit in stunned silence as they watched videos of human children playing. She had seen an empire that had conquered. 400 species begin to ask questions. It had never asked before. Why do we exist? What are we fighting for? What does it all mean? "Yes," Gina said. "I think you have." The ships landed. The doors opened. The first humans stepped onto the Valoran vessel. They looked around with fear and wonder and hope, all mixed together. Admiral Yun had sent Captain Ko Deho to lead the delegation. Deho was a good man, steady and calm. He walked toward Gina with careful steps, never taking his eyes off the Valorans around him. "Captain Park," he said formally, "you look well." "I am well," Gina said. "Better than I expected." Deho looked at the Queen. His hand moved toward his weapon, then stopped. "So this is her." The Queen. "Yes," Gina said. "She has questions. She wants to learn." "Learn what?" Gina smiled. It was a tired smile, but a real one. Everything that makes us human. Over the next few months, more humans came. They came not as soldiers, but as teachers. They brought books and music and art. They brought games for children and stories for adults. They brought everything that made humanity special, but not everyone trusted the peace. Many humans were angry. They had lost too much. They wanted revenge, not reconciliation. But others saw what Gina had seen. They saw a species that was sick and empty, reaching out for help. And humans, despite everything, were very good at helping. One evening, Gina stood with the queen at the great window of the throne room. They watched the stars together in silence. "You could have asked me anything," Gina said. "When you first captured me, you could have asked about military secrets, weaknesses, strategies. Why did you ask about hope?" The queen was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. "Because I have spent 900 years learning how to destroy. I have built weapons. I have conquered worlds. I have killed billions. And in all that time, I never once asked how to build something, how to create something, how to make something that matters." She turned to look at Gina with those ancient black eyes. "When I watched your people fight, I did not see enemies. I saw something beautiful. I saw creatures who were burning so brightly that they did not care if the fire consumed them. I wanted to understand that fire. I wanted to feel it for myself." She paused. "I was lonely," she admitted. "My people were lonely. We had conquered the galaxy, and we were the loneliest species in existence. We had everything except the one thing that mattered. Connection," Gina said quietly. "Yes," the queen agreed. "Connection, meaning, purpose, hope, all the things that you humans have, even when you have nothing else." She looked out at the stars. "Perhaps it is time for my people to learn. Perhaps it is time for us to stop destroying and start building." Gina nodded. She thought about all the humans who had died, all the worlds that had burned, all the pain and loss and grief. It would take a long time to heal. Maybe it would never fully heal, but this was a beginning. "That is hope," she said softly. "Believing that tomorrow can be better than today, even when there is no proof, even when all logic says it is impossible." The queen looked at her, and for the first time in 900 years, she smiled. It was a small smile, a hesitant smile, like a child taking their first step. But it was real. "Then perhaps," the queen said, "I am beginning to understand." Outside the window, the stars burned in the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, humans were still fighting, still hoping, still living. And now, maybe, they were not alone anymore.